Okay, we're ready.
Perfect. All right, we'll call the meeting back to order at 10:42 a.m. and thank you for all of us who are joining us in person and online. Today is a special meeting focused on our budget with three main reports up for discussion, including service fees, updates on budget adjustments for 26 and 27, and the 2026 assessment growth funding submission. LPS is providing us with a presentation, and we have a special guest from York Regional Police, Jeff Channel, joining us for the service fee report that you'll find in your agenda. Thanks for making the trip down. We really appreciate it. As it's not a regular scheduled meeting, we won't have the regular business to tend to, such as approving minutes. I will, however, need to request that any conflicts of interest be declared. Members? Seeing none. And is there any new business to add that is directly tied to the London Police Service budget? Seeing none, one of the board's key responsibilities is ensuring that the London Police Service is equipped to meet the challenges of public safety while being mindful of the financial pressures facing our community. The board is holding this meeting to highlight the importance of this responsibility, show that we're listening to Londoners and understanding their position, and show the public some of the return on investment and ensure that the London Police Service Board meets its budget submission deadlines with the City of London. In March of 2024, the board secured a historic increase with a multi-year budget as part of transforming this organization and how we provide public safety to Londoners. Since then, this investment has enabled the London Police Service to hire additional officers, adopt new technology, and make the city a safer place. While the current budget spans 4 years, the board actively monitors spending and service delivery to identify efficiencies and address resourcing gaps. Today's discussion will focus on ensuring the budget continues to reflect our strategic priorities and align with the expectations of the taxpayers of London. I will hand it over to Chief Trong to give a brief overview of the first report up for discussion and introduce our guest from York. Chief?
Thank you, Chair. And through you, you have before you the board report where we're seeking a decision with recommendations with respect to fees and charges. As the board is fully aware, we've embarked on a service fee review. We've identified that our service is not in line with other police services and not in line with service fees with respect to the province. And it is my great pleasure to introduce to you today Chief Financial Officer Jeff Channel. Jeff Channel brings a wealth of experience. He's got over 5 years experience with Peel Regional Police in finance, capital projects. He's moved over to York Regional Police where he spent over 20 years now, I believe. And he is in charge and providing a great deal of strategic guidance to support York Regional Police, which is the 5th largest police service in Canada. So thank you to Jeff for supporting us and our team. He's been supporting Jody and Superintendent Blair Harvey with this review. It is the best way for us and his guidance in determining where we should be with respect to fees and charges. So I'll turn it over to Jeff Channel. I can't thank Jeff enough and Chief McSween for supporting us in this endeavor.
Sure. Well, thank you. You want to face him on right up? Yep, no problem.
Welcome.
And thanks, Chief Trump. Thank you again, Chair. Thank you again to the board members for your kindness today. Today's service fee review will overview 2 of the whys, why we're talking about service fees today. We'll talk about the legislative overview and we'll get more information of what the chief has said around our comparator analysis around service fees and charges. The next 4 items are all around the how we did this. So we'll review the cost analysis principles. We'll talk about the maturity model, which helped us be effective in this review. We'll give you a summary of the findings as well as proposed change management tactics to help with its implementation. And finally, we'll end with the recommendations that are in front of you before turning it over to you, Chair, for any questions. So as the chair mentioned, Section 11 of the Community Safety and Policing Act, it requires police services to operate in a manner that's both effective and efficient in resource utilization and achieving community safety goals. And this includes ensuring financial responsibility for public funds. In service fees and charges, it's a user pay approach. And this approach means that costs for certain services are borne solely by the individuals or groups that are using the service, thereby alleviating the financial burden on taxpayers at large. And as a result, the system effectively reduces the financial impacts on the broader tax base who might not benefit directly from certain services. The legislative piece is the Municipal Act, Section 391-1, that allows a local board like this board to impose fees and charges on individuals. The section goes on to talk about the types of activities and the cost types that can be used in its chargeback, including for property, I'll note, including for deferred benefits. So if there's upcoming capital costs, they can be charged back to services that are being delivered today, as well as mandatory services, which is very important for the types of service fees that this board has. It's also not new to the board. The board has had service fees and charges for decades. We're talking about an amendment to those fees and charges. Most importantly, in the black box, the Municipal Act is silent around adding profits or discounting, which we'll talk about in an upcoming slide. So this slide shows a comparative analysis. We've chosen the top 4 service fee types. So although there are 31 of them, these 4 types across the top represent over 90% of the fee revenue that London collects today. You'll see the current fees, and I'll start with vulnerable sector check at $45. And over across the board, London is amongst the lowest with Peel in how fees are charged today. York and Ottawa are amongst the highest across Ontario. Moving over to the how that this review was done, there was a 2025 cost analysis that we undertook with Jody, but really it was a team of about 12 people within the management team at London Police that we met with. First of all, we were looking for pricing that adjusts to inflation, and you'll see this in the recommendations coming up. We standardized the approaches for costing, so that's one template across many fee types so that we could standardize how costs were being calculated. And we also did that same exercise around how overheads, which can be tricky, but we standardized those overheads and standardized it into approaches that are used in York. And finally, we had quality control, and we did quite a bit of data collection, which I'll highlight in a future slide. The maturity model is it's an effectiveness model. Where should we be spending our time on the review? So in discussions with Jody, we found that London had good cost principles and good data quality. So we spent less time on those areas, but we've spent more time on building a framework, having that being trackable, verifiable. Validation was a thing that both organizations conducted. We had our own comparative analysis, and Jody filled that out with a survey across the Ontario Chiefs Finance Group. So we had a very broad validation of costs. Summary of findings, and I'll just highlight the column on the right. First of all, we wanted to implement service fees that increased and adjust to inflation annually. So you'll see that in the recommendations upcoming. We adopted a pricing strategy to reflect comparator organizations. And again, this is cost comparisons, not just from York and London, but across Ontario. We did standardize that cost billing template, and we worked to better understand the value of this information, and I'll spend a couple of minutes on this. So who uses these fees? Well, it's individuals, typically in the vulnerable area, and this is people that are dealing with seniors, youth, as well as other vulnerable populations, whether they're volunteers or whether employed in those spaces. Now, we're recommending fees, you'll see them on the next slide, of $65 and $74 for various record checks. This is a great value to those organizations because their businesses, the trust and legitimacy of their business is based on a record check. And this differentiates having the right people in those jobs and not. So the proposed service fees are on this slide, and we're proposing on that vulnerable sector check, increasing from 45 to 65. The 2027 row is basically what a normal year would look like if there was consumer price index adjustments applied. So the various fees are there. The change management approach that we're taking is a lighter one. This is based on a model from ProSci called ADCAR, but the acronym is basically awareness and desire. And that's what we're doing today, is understanding whether the board is interested in changing these fees. Excuse me. And from here, the next steps will be transitional. We'll talk with stakeholders, whether it's internal, changing different technologies, point of sale machines, excuse me. Or we're talking with the clients, which is the external and the public. The main point here is around lead time. So reinforcing this into the future and by doing this in September, you're giving over 3 months of lead time to the stakeholders around these fee changes. Thanks very much, Deb. And that's key because, and we found this at Europe as well. When you're having small incremental changes, doing a change in November for a January implementation is no problem. But when it's a larger increase like this, giving 3 months of lead time is desired. So there are 3 recommendations, Chair, to the report. The first is to approve a list of 31 service fees and charges. This differs quite a bit from the city. So the city itself has a 44-page document outlining its service fees and charges. This is 1 page, it's 31 fees. And so just for the city folks here, it is a different amount of fees that are being contemplated. Second recommendation is our inflationary change. And it effectively says that every January 1st, there'll be a CPI adjustment. That way that the staff does not need to come back to you and you won't have this backlog like we have now for 2017, excuse me. The third recommendation is to adopt a bylaw, and this is consistent with the requirements within section 391.1 of the Municipal Act. Sorry. So Chair, before I turn it back to you for any questions, I just wanted to highlight that there are 7 new fees being contemplated, and they're shown on page 3 of the report. One I wanted to highlight was the audiovisual redaction fee. And this fee was a new requirement. We were talking originally around body worn camera, but it's all kinds of video redaction. And we found that no other Ontario service had contemplated what's in front of you today. So we talked to Metropolitan Las Vegas PD. Their CFO there is Rich Hagen, and he talked about this variable fee. And by billing on an hourly basis, it allows you to deal with lengthy reductions. So some are an hour and you get billed for an hour. Some are 4 hours and you'll get billed for 4 hours. So we'd like to thank and for the assist from Rich Hagen. So with that, Chair, back to you for any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, President. I'm going to take a seat. We're going to be on display up there and get our measurements back to us again on some members. Any questions? For our guest? Member Lehman.
Through you, Chair. So I just want to be clear that this fee analysis and repricing has not been done since 2017. Is that correct? So in that time, Chair, I guess my thoughts are those costs are borne by taxpayers of London, even though they're above and beyond what the noticing is set up to do by the Municipal Act. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a height right now, but we have to catch up from the years that we weren't doing what we're going to be doing going forward. Incremental increases of 2% or whatever it is based on the CPI. So it's a bit of a hard pill right now. That being said, I'm confident that the analysis is thorough, and I appreciate the comparatives. You know, it passes to me a reasonability test. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest. It's a fair pricing model. So I think it's overdue, but we have to do it. I remember London Transit had the same thing. We didn't increase fees for like 10 years, and then there was a big hike, and it was hard. It's hard to do. So overdue. Glad we're doing it now. Glad it's tied to inflation, and I think we're in the right area compared to other cities. So thank you for the work.
Member Stevenson?
Yeah, thank you for the work. Thank you, staff as well. I think this is, it's required by the CSPA that we take this financial look at things, and I think the public supports the user pay facility of that, and so this is another way to support our budget request going forward, is to be prudent in doing what we're doing, ensuring we're like not too high, not too low, but charging appropriate service fees with appropriate inflation increases every year going forward. So I was happy to see this.
Other members, any questions from members? Seeing none, before I move forward to the recommendation for us, Director Graham, Superintendent Harvey, anything that you would like to add on this particular report? I just have one point of clarification just before we do go to recommendation. Mr. Chairman, you had noted the inflationary increase that would be taken year to year. I just want to confirm that a report will be coming forward to the board annually with those figures just for in public session, correct?
We can do that.
Excellent. Just for awareness, just for the public's awareness, more obviously it has to be done, and that will be part of the process today, but just so that they're aware, and there's a bit of a reminder that those fees will be adjusted to the appropriate level. All right, with that, the recommended motion before us is that the London Police Service Board, 1, approve Schedule A as attached, effective January 1st of 2026 to amend fees and charges. 2, that the fees and charges set out in Schedule A shall be adjusted on January 1st of each year in accordance with the annual consumer price index, and the fees and charges so adjusted shall be rounded up to A, the nearest dollar where the fee is less than $100, and B, the nearest $10 where the fee is $100 or more but less than $1,000. And number 3, approve the draft fees and charges bylaw, contained in Schedule B to impose fees and charges for services and activities provided by the London Police Service. So that's on the floor. Can I have a mover, please? Member Lehman, seconded by Member Stevenson. Any discussion on the motion on the floor? Member Morgans.
Yeah, I just want to highlight in the fee schedule. Although on the screen we would have seen a vulnerable sector check at $65, there's also provisions in there for like volunteers of certain organizations who are reaching out. It is a lower fee than that. So I wanted to just confirm that and highlight it. So although it's $65 for a regular everyday person walking in for a vulnerable service check, it's only $28 for volunteers of organizations or volunteers doing it online, which I think we want to continue to support in our community because we recognize there are many volunteer organizations that have limited funds and capacities. People are donating their time. So just in this increase in fees, there's still very low, very reasonable fees for those who are doing important service in our community. I just didn't want it to get lost in the discussion today.
Those members? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. All right, we will move on to item number 3 and item number 4, which is the multi-year budget report and budget presentation, as well as assessment growth funding submission, both report number 2509 FF02 and 2509 FF03. But before we do that, maybe we're going to let our guests, we want to say thank you. Though I'm sure you can stay for these reports if you'd like, but we thank you very, very much for your guidance, and we appreciate you helping us through this process. So thank you on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I'll give you a call. Thank you, Mark.
All right, and with that, Chief, I will turn it over to you for item numbers 2 and 3. Floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. And Chair, through you, you'll recall that the board had asked us to find some efficiencies so we could support the area 1.5 million to support the city and find some savings. So there's a board report before you and the board. We're seeking a decision. We've been able to find that. There's recommendations for the board. We're asking the board approve And before I turn it over to Director Jody Graham and Superintendent Harvey, I'll just ask that the recommendations that we're proposing is to approve an increase in the drawdown from the Benefits Reserve Fund for 2026, from $200,000 to $1 million to reduce the net tax levy funded impact of the London Police Service operating budget by $800,000. Approve a drawdown of $700,000 from the Police Service Reserve Fund to provide additional support to the 2026 operating budget. Approve the revised 2026 budget, confirming the operating budget for 2027 as follows, with the understanding that a similar review will be undertaken as part of the 2027 annual budget update for City Council's consideration. Approve the capital budget forecast of 2035 in the amount of $22,964,118. Approve the relocation of remaining funds from the Backup Communications Center to the Next Generation 911 Center. And finally, approve that the service retain additional revenues projected from the revised service fees and charges schedules to help offset related operating pressures. And I'll turn it to Jody and Blair to proceed with further information for the board's consideration.
Superintendent Harvey, Director Graham.
Through you, Chair. Today's discussion we will focus on several key items related to the operating and capital budget updates for 2026 to 2027. We'll begin by reviewing the current status of the multi-year budget, including reserve strategies, capital allocations, and long-term infrastructure planning. We'll then turn our attention to 2026 assessment growth, where we'll examine the services request for additional positions to support London's growing population. This request aligns with the city's assessment growth policy and reflects our commitment to ensuring adequate resources in place to meet future requirements and demands. As part of the annual financial planning process, the London Police Services use a zero-based budgeting approach, rebuilding the budget from the ground up rather than relying on previous allocations. While this process is time-intensive, it ensures that every dollar is purposely allocated. It requires all operational needs to be carefully assessed and justified, fostering a culture of strategic prioritization, transparency, and fiscal accountability. This disciplined approach and method strengthens financial stewardship and enhances our ability to adapt to changing needs while delivering value to the community. Over the past several months, the service has been actively updating the budget for the 26-27 period. Through this work, several financial pressures have emerged, revealing that current funding is not sufficient to meet projected operational demands. As a result, the service will need to prioritize initiatives and service delivery requirements within the existing budget framework. London Police Service Administration has conducted a comprehensive analysis of current financial pressures and operational needs. This review involved detailed consultations with budget managers and an assessment of various financial scenarios to ensure that the existing budget allocations for 26 through 27 are adequate to support ongoing operations and address anticipated challenges. A summary of the operating budget approved to date for 26 to 27 through the multi-year budget process is provided. It's important to note that 94% of the operating budget is allocated to salaries and benefits. To help balance the 26 budget, two key opportunities have been identified. First, a revised service fee schedule based on the York Regional Police Costing Model, tailored to our local context, is expected to generate approximately $760,000 in additional revenue. Second, strategic drawdowns from the reserve funds are proposed. Increasing the drawdown from the Benefits Reserve Fund from $200,000 to $1 million would provide $800,000 in support, while a $700,000 drawdown from the Police Service Reserve would add further relief. Together, these reserve adjustments offer $1.5 million in operating support. A balanced approach is recommended. using reserve drawdowns to reduce the operating budget and support the tax levy while retaining the projected service fee revenue to address internal pressures. Even with these measures, a budget gap remains for 26 to 27, and further refinements will be explored by the executive command team. Alongside the operating budget review, a detailed assessment of capital needs has been completed. The executive command team is actively prioritizing requests to ensure alignment with strategic goals and operational readiness. These investments in infrastructure, technology, and equipment are essential to maintaining service continuity and supporting modernization. While there are no proposed changes to the operating or the capital budget for 26 to 27, it will remain aligned with the original 4-year cycle. There are a few additional capital items that require attention. These reflect strategic reallocations within the existing budget framework to support modernization and operational resilience. So the first is the services requesting to reallocate 1.19 million in unspent funds from the Backup Communication Center project to the Real-Time Operations Center Primary Data Center Communications Upgrade Project. These approved capital funds are committed funds being drawn from the Police Service Reserve Fund. This reallocation is budget neutral, strategically aligned with the service's modernization goals, and necessary to address current future emergency service requirements. The service also continues to advance its electric vehicle strategy. 2 EVs are planned for frontline deployment in 2026 as part of a proof of concept. Hybrid vehicles, which have shown strong performance across various roles, are now the preferred option due to the reliability and minimal infrastructure needs. Expansion will be supported through the remaining funds in the 26-27 police vehicle and equipment requirements business case. As part of the multi-year budget update, we are also required to maintain a rolling 10-year capital plan, which includes incorporating the year 2035 into the plan to reflect the continuation of existing capital requirements and ongoing needs. Budget projections for key capital projects are provided here to ensure alignment with long-term strategic goals and planning.
I'll just speak briefly to the assessment growth basket that has been put forward to the board. This, of course, is occurring as part of the city's larger allocation of assessment generated funds. So overall, the LPS will be seeking 14 new sworn positions and 5 civilian police professional positions as part of our assessment growth ask for 2026. And looking at the addition of these 14 sworn positions, it will do a pretty good job of maintaining our officer per population ratio at its current level. So as the population continues to increase, these additional 14 positions, sworn positions, will help us maintain basically where we're at currently in relation to our officer to population ratio. And this report is part of the city's larger assessment growth allocation of funds. And so there's an attached report that actually becomes part of the city's process as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Trong to introduce a video segment here that we have now as part of the presentation. Chief?
Thank you, Claire. And Chair, through you, there's been a video created to show the board and the community the investments that we've made in policing and our organization with the support of the police budget through the board, city council. This video here is to show what we've done with the money, where we were, where we're at now, and where we intend to go as we continue to progress and modernize the organization for the betterment of the city.
Over the past year and a half, the London Police Service has embarked on a transformative journey made possible by the generous support of City Council and Londoners. Today, I'm very proud to share our story of progress, innovation, and commitment to community safety. Only a few years ago, this police service faced significant challenges: high call volumes, delayed response times, low morale, and operational hurdles due to understaffing and limited resources. It was clear we needed bold changes to improve our efficiency and effectiveness to serve our community better. With the investments you entrusted to us, we've delivered. Our NG 911 project has modernized emergency response with faster and more precise dispatching. Body-worn cameras have strengthened transparency and accountability, helping build public trust. Our open-air substance use strategy is making an impact in downtown, midtown, and Old East Village. And our nurse police teams, working with LHSC, are providing compassionate care to those in crisis, bridging healthcare and policing. We've also reimagined frontline operations. The new Patrol Operations Investigative Section is supporting complex cases while easing pressure on frontline officers so they can respond more quickly to calls. Special constables are now handling non-emergency tasks, freeing up sworn officers to focus on urgent community needs. And we're not stopping. Ahead, we're introducing biometric health monitoring technology to better protect prisoners in our care, expanding our emergency response unit and building our public order unit to meet the growing demands of planned and unplanned events. These steps will strengthen officer safety, community safety, and our overall readiness. The results speak for themselves. Crime severity in London has dropped 2 years in a row, a historic 14% reduction in 2023, followed by another 6% reduction last year. Our city is safer today because of these investments. Every dollar has been put to work wisely, and the return is clear. Stronger operations, improved trust, and safer neighborhoods. Thank you for your continued trust in the London Police Service. Together, we're building a safer, stronger London.
Chair will turn it back to you in relation to the recommendations.
Thank you. Chief, is there anything further you'd like to add before I move to the member for questions?
Chair, thank you.
Members? Member Lehman?
Thank you to our finance team for providing us this budget update. Through you, Chair, to the Chief, I guess I have one basic question. A couple of years ago, you presented us with a very substantial 4-year strategy to make this city safer now. Looking at that video and you know, with the information provided over the last couple of years, you're on track to fulfill that target that you had for London. Does this budget update provide you the resources to continue on your path to get to where you want to be at the end, that 4-year plan?
Thank you, and Chair, through you, I would say we are definitely on the right track. We need to maintain focus. We need to stay the course. There's a lot of incredible work being done in this organization by all of our leadership and mostly the people on the front lines. There are budget pressures for us. There's operational pressures. And as we highlighted, we are in a situation for next year where there are operational needs that we currently don't have the funds for. So I'm very confident in our team and our plan to look at the resources, find some efficiencies, and continue to try and generate some revenue so we can maintain what we promised to this community and take it further. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, no follow-up. Member Morgan?
Yeah, I'll speak, I'll speak as mayor afterwards to anybody who wants to talk, but as a police board member, which is where I sit, I want to say I think this is a really responsible approach that the board has taken, the staff have taken. Getting a significant budget from the city meant we had a lot of responsibility and expectation to deliver on results. I think the video highlights some of those results. There will obviously be lots more to report on as time goes on, but also responsibility over the budget. And it is the expectation of not only the City of London, but every board and commission to each and every year take a look at that budget and see how they're spending it, where they can find efficiencies, and how they can continue to deliver on the operational expectations that budget is supposed to achieve, while doing so in an efficient way. And so I think when our staff presented the zero-based budgeting approach and some of the other tools, it makes sense that each and every year, if you're going to rebuild the budget from the ground up, you're going to find some changes from it. Whereas the police budget, I think when I first got on council, used to just be a place where we approve of the budget, the money would go, and, you know, that's where it went, right? There's not a lot of questions asked, and then it just kind of moved forward. Now we're in a situation where each and every year, this organization is looking at its budget. Last year was able to find some efficiencies of return $850,000 for the city. This year, with this report before us, which I'm supportive of, 1.5 million. Each and every year, we will continue to look for efficiencies. That doesn't mean that there's an expectation that in that year you will find something, but it is now in a very responsible position to each and every year steward that money in an effective way, ensure the operational needs of the organization, but doing what it can to return any sort of savings that are unneeded to taxpayers, even on a one-time basis as you look each and every year. So I just want to commend this board and the staff here for taking a really responsible approach. I think an expected and responsible approach, an approach that I know the chief and this board has committed to when it asked for the budget in the first place. And now you're seeing the results of that work. You're achieving operational results while at the same time regularly reviewing the budget to ensure that, you know, we're not taking more money than we need, but we're getting the resources that we need to achieve the goals that need to be achieved by the organization. So I'm fully supportive of the document before us. Chair, I don't know if you want me to comment on assessment growth at the same time or whether we're doing that separate. I know it was part of the presentation, but
You can go ahead and comment
Okay,
at the same time.
then-
It'll be separate motion, but they're both presented the same, so we'll take questions on assessment growth.
so it'll be a separate vote, but on assessment growth, I think this is a really responsible assessment growth business case to be forwarding to the city. It's part of our plan to continue to ask for the resources that align with the growing city. We know that we have a fast growing city, and we know that a fast growing city has a couple of things that happen. One, increased demand for service, but increased complexity in the type of crime and challenges that police services face, right? You know, a small town doesn't have to deal with human trafficking and sexual exploitation and intimate partner violence, perhaps to the same degree that a large complex city does, that has, you know, elements, criminal elements that would be attracted to the size of these large populations. So as the city grows, not only do the needs grow, but the complexity of policing, I think, changes as we go on. So when I look at the types of positions that will be funded in the assessment growth business case, I see us hitting on those growth areas where, as we grow and become a more complex city, we're actually getting ahead of that and putting officers in the positions, in the spaces as an organization that will meet the needs of the challenges that we face from a public safety perspective. So the city is growing. It's responsible to submit an assessment growth business case. And I think that this is an appropriate way for us to ensure that we don't fall behind on the number of officers that we need, but do so with those new growth revenues, right? And for those who don't know, assessment growth dollars are new taxation dollars coming into the city because the city has grown. It's responsible for the police to ask for a share of that, as it is for transit commission, civic departments, and other elements to say the city's grown, we've got more costs. Those new tax dollars are going to go towards the services that are being provided based on that growing city. So I think this aligns with the growth model well. Obviously, it has to go through the city's process, but I'm supportive of approving this at the board level and passing it on to that process. So, I mean, those are the comments I have for now, Chair, and I just want to thank our teams for some excellent work. I think Londoners and taxpayers should be very pleased with this report before us today, and pleased with the direction this organization is going.
Thank you. Member Stevenson?
Yeah, thank you. I'll just echo the thanks and the gratitude for all of the work and for being able to put this big budget that was approved by council into results. That's what Londoners were looking for. And despite there's been unexpected political activities and other pressures that have hit in the last couple of years, and we've been still able, the service has still been able to produce the results and find a way to relieve some of the pressure on taxpayers. That is really appreciated. And the fact that you're acknowledging some pressures for the next year or two and already looking at ways to navigate those within the budget that was approved is really appreciated. And, we've got an addiction crisis that's growing as well, that puts a lot of extra pressure and potentially criminal activity into our city as well. So this is good news, I think, to hear that we're getting the results. We're able to find some money to put back onto the tax levy and looking ahead already at next year.
Other comments or questions from members? Board will indulge me, I'll just add a few comments just before we go to the recommendations. And I think it's very important to note that this is a long-term plan. When the chief arrived, when the new service delivery model was put into place, when the presentation was made to this board, it's been very clear that this is not, not everything is going to be fixed overnight. That we're working towards a, 4-year plan about how we really change the way that we do policing in London, Ontario, and how we deliver the service that Londoners expect. And we're seeing it start to work. There is no question that there's still more work to do. There's no question that, we're not there yet, but the foundational building blocks have been put in place. And I think that I really want to give kudos and credit to the chief and to his team is just about the constant eye that is placed on the budget, because there's no question it's a lot of money. It resulted in a tax increase. Londoners feel the pressure. Every organization is feeling the pressure with rising costs, not only in London, Ontario, from coast to coast to coast. And I think that we committed, and I think there was some trepidation on some people's parts about whether or not we were going to be looking at it as fine-tooth comb as we have. So both on the services side as well as on the board, we made a commitment to be fiscally responsible and to do our job to make sure that if money wasn't being utilized for the direct delivery of policing services, that would be returned back to the taxpayer to bring the levy back down. And that's what we're trying to do here. And I think that commitment wasn't just words, we put into action. It's happening now a second time, and we're committed to going forward and looking. Now, are we able to say that next year to be the same? No, we can't say that at this point in time. But what we can say is that we will have a close eye on this. We'll be monitoring it, and we'll be doing everything we can to make sure that Londoners feel safe, that when they call the police, that they deliver, and that we are holding ourselves to account. And when it comes to the delivery of policing service, in London, Ontario, which is our mandate as a board under the CSPA. And I just really wanted to say thank you to everyone who's done a lot of work. I know Director Graham, Superintendent Harvey, Deputy McSween, Chief. There's been a lot of work on the budget documents, working with the city, making sure that we find a path forward. And I think what's presented here is one that's prudent and one that keeps in mind the taxpayer, but also the challenge that we have ahead with an ever-growing city that has big city problems. And we need to be prepared for that. And I also just wanted to take a moment, because I think I'd be remiss if I didn't, just to thank all the officers, civilian sworn members of the service that are doing the work every single day. Because we can make the decisions at the board, chief, you can put plans into place, but they're the ones carrying it out for us every single day and answering those calls and working around the clock. So I just really wanted to say thank you to all of them and for all that they're doing. And as I said, there's still much more work to do. So we look forward to seeing what's next and the updates that come before the board. So one last call for any further comments or questions. Seeing none, I'm going to move this in two parts. On the multi-year budget report and budget presentation, I'm going to put the following recommendations on the floor, and I'll look for a mover and a seconder. That the London Police Service Board, 1, approve an increase in the drawdown from the Benefits Reserve Fund RF098 for 2026 from $200,000 to $1 million to reduce the next tax levy funded impact of the London Police Service operating budget by $800,000. Number 2, approve a drawdown of $700,000 from the Police Service Reserve Fund RF10100, provide additional support to the 2026 operating budget. Number 3, approve the revised 2026 budget of $195,776,415, $197,276,415 less $800,000 and $700,000. 4, confirm the operating budget amount for 2027 as follows, with the understanding that a similar review will be undertaken as part of the 2027 annual budget update for City Council's consideration. 2027, $212,888,574. 5, approve the capital budget forecast for 2035 in the amount of $22,964,118. Number 6, approve the relocation of remaining funds from PP 4474, Backup Communication Center, to PP 4325, Next Generation 911 Center. And number 7, approve that the service retain the additional revenues projected from the revised service fees and charges schedules to help offset related operating pressures. Can I have someone put that on the floor, please? Moved by Member Lehman, seconded by Member Morgan. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And we'll move on to the next motion, which would be under item number 4, 2026 assessment growth funding submission, that the London Police Service Board approve the request for assessment growth funding to support the addition of 19 positions for 2026 as outlined in the submission. Can I have a mover? Member Stevenson, seconder, member Morgan. I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. And on that, we will move into a motion to adjourn. Yes,
If I could make one comment,
absolutely. Go
your
ahead.
indulgence.
Yes.
I just wanted to take a moment to recognize that, that today is the, 9/11, the anniversary, 24th anniversary of 9/11. And there were a number of, fair number of emergency services personnel. I mean, 10,000 responded to the situation in New York. Many lost their lives. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize all of the frontline officers in our city who each and every day, with the police, fire, EMS, respond to emergency situations, who think that they're going to be safe, secure, and return home that night. And, unfortunately, there's days where that isn't always the case. And I think it's important on this day to continue to recognize in whatever ways we do that reality each and every day for those who we ask to serve our community in this capacity, and to remember and think about those who lost their lives in the service to public safety in all of its forms, anywhere in the world, who serve the members of the public each and every day. So I know it's a police board meeting, but there are many activities that happen on this day throughout the world, and it's important for us to all reflect on that as well. So I just wanted to add that context to the chair of the board meeting today, and I really appreciate that you give me some indulgence.
Well, no, thank you for that, member. Thank you for that intervention, Member Morgan. I think speak for the board in echoing those comments and as they were eloquently put. One last call for any other comments. Seeing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by member Stevenson, seconded by member Lehman. Anyone opposed? That's carried. We'll adjourn at 11:29. Thank you very much, everyone.